So welcome, Yara, to the UpLevel Podcast. I'm so grateful you said yes. And
thank you for inviting me.
Oh, thank you for being here. I'm going to dive right in because you're in Israel. And I want to know from your perspective, what is it like to be in war, in a war-torn country?
Never thought I will need to answer a question like that. It's been 4 months since October 7th, actually tomorrow. And what is it like to be in a war zone? It's waking up every morning, not knowing what the news are going to be. It's waking up every morning with your heart heavy. It's going to sleep praying every night that it will end. It's worrying for people who are fighting for us in Gaza and in the north and in some parts in the southern parts of Israel. There's so many parts that are right now under attack. Israel is a very small country. Everyone knows everyone. So if one person gets hurt, then you know their neighbors, the family, that you know someone that knows someone, and it's very intimate. It's like very family oriented. This country. It's also being in pain.
Yeah.
Constant pain for a unfolding trauma of thousands of people who got murdered and raped. We still have 136 people, hostages in Gaza, including 2 babies. And it's a little bit losing happiness and faith. I'm a strong believer in I'm very spiritual and very strong in believing that there is a God behind all of this, and there is a bigger plan that I can't understand, but I need to be with it. But it's the faith actually in the human power to be human. So that's what war is for me today. It had different stages. There was the stage in the beginning that was really more life-threatening, rockets above my head, and we still have terror attacks all the time. You don't know, and when you walk in the street, if someone maybe decides to flip out and show support with Hamas and then attack in the middle of the street. So you don't feel safe at all. But then on the other hand, you say, fuck that. And you live life. You live life. It's like a weird war routine. You work, you go out, but then there is this, death hovering above your head all the time.
Okay. When we were setting up for the conversation, we talked about, as leaders navigate crisis, chaos, and change, the ability to hold multiple perspectives. And this is something that folks who listen to this podcast, I go on about it, and I really appreciated what you said to me. It is a very North American perspective. It's also a very privileged perspective for me to say, let's hold multiple perspectives. And from what you've just shared, if one is in survival mode, if you don't know if you're going to get blown to smithereens when you leave your front door, how can you adopt other perspectives? What's your lived experience of that?
It's a strong question. Let me think. Like, the automatic answer is you can't. You can't. You have the way of the dichotomic thinking of right and wrong is immediately sharpened. And obviously, when you're in war, you are on the right side.
Yeah.
Having said that, the multiple perspectives that I'm holding are not necessarily about the other side, because I'm still not there, to be honest. It's more about perspective like future. That will be one perspective. Another perspective would be spirit. What's the intention here, and how should I bring more light? Another perspective is a lot of, it goes inside. The introspection becomes so much more deeper. You start to look at yourself, at your life, in a whole different way. Something that I have noticed, which I don't know if it's holding a lot of perspectives, but it's just something that I want to say, is that a lot of people are just taking down their masks. There is no privilege to not be authentic at this point, because it feels ridiculous to, I don't know, talk about what should I wear and how do I look? Did I say the right sentence? Did I nail it? It's just like people are, it's life and death and blood and fire and babies and kidnaps and the end of the world kind of and thing. And you're not busy in thinking about perspectives that me were busy in before.
Yeah. I mean, talk about leading through crisis, chaos, and change. It's why I wanted you here, because we've been talking about it this season in theory. We've been talking to business leaders who are navigating the modern times of crisis, current chaos, and change in the workplace. But what you're bringing to us is the reality of when we are in fight or flight. It is so challenging to get into those other places. But you're pointing us somewhere really, I think, a place where we can connect universally, which is, you talked about the spirituality piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to us more about how that served you, and if you're bringing that to the folks that you're working with, like how is that helping you navigate these times?
That's it. That will be a challenging question in a regular day. How do you bring spirituality to an organization, right?
Right.
Because then they think that you completely lost it.
Yeah.
So in war times, you actually get permission to bring it. In a way, talking about those masks. I sat today with a VP HR in a startup, a beautiful startup in Israel that is reinventing milk. And she said to me, they're reinventing milk in a way that you're not going to use cows, and then cows are not going to create the methane, and then you get to have the milk with clean air. It's a beautiful vision, and it's happening. It's happening. I'm looking at their labs while I'm working with their founders. I'm like, we're looking at it. The molecules are growing right in front of me.
Amazing.
And we spoke about spirituality, and I told her, listen, I believe that the work of coaches, facilitators, mediators, leadership training, leadership management, it in a way is our very sophisticated or not so sophisticated way to bring spirituality to places where you can't speak that so much. Yes. So I'm not going to say, hey, let's do a spiritual leadership development program. Okay. Yeah. But I will bring something about listening to people in a way that is deeper, and the impact, and seeing into their soul. And I can see the change that people are going through. But now there is much more permission to talk about it. Permission. Mm-hmm. And I must connect it also to the fact that I'm Jew. We are being attacked based on our religion. Now, many people here were not religious before. We're not even talking Judaism before, or religiousness or anything like that, but it's like it forced them back to a root that they were ignoring because, but once you're being hated based on your religion or whatever you want to call it, race or I don't know, nationality, then you actually you cling even stronger to that, because that's what, that's a place of, I
Refuge.
know this. Yes.
Refuge.
And it's my root.
Yeah.
And people are trying to take out my roots.
Yeah.
So you cling to them. So actually spirituality is like a little bit back.
Well, I mean, I think based on the work we do, I'm so grateful for that, because I agree with you that the language we use to bring leadership development, coach training into organizations, it is a bit of a guise to reconnect people to their humanity, to their whatever their godlike source is, their divinity. Right. And so that's good to hear. That's good to hear that there's more permission. What's it been like for you to do this work, to bring leadership development and coach training into organizations while you're having this experience yourself?
Wow. I'll share with you the first time I co-led CTI training was fundamentals. It was online. I wasn't able to work for 2 months. You said fight and flight. I was in freeze. I completely shut down. 7 people I know got murdered. A lot of people I know are risking their lives every day, serving the army, protecting me, my family, my country. So I'm in a constant, so the toughest work for me in the beginning was actually with people who are not in Israel. Because how can you war? How can you explain working under war? How can you explain it when the world looks like it took a very specific side, which I'm not part of that side? And to be able to facilitate, coach, work, and to completely be soaked with the person in front of me. And then rockets that I had in the CTI training. It's not funny, but I'm laughing because, it's just too surreal to even say it. Yeah. I was leading, and then I was about to talk about level 3 listening, global listening. And then I hear the rockets coming, and I'm like, how do I explain right now that it's a level 3 that you can't explain? And I felt like I'm in a mini panic attack. Turned off my camera, turned off my sound, gave it to my amazing co-leader to take it from there. Came back a few seconds later and just immediately recovered into them. And they held me with love and beautiful love. But it's how do you do it? You just you are very much in the moment. Very much in the moment, every single second, very much aware of it. I know.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even relate. So that's why I'm just speechless right now, because just really in this conversation connecting to how privileged I am.
Yeah. I mean, I see it as now as my privilege. I know it sounds weird. It's like double privilege to be in war and coach and do those things. Wow. They're talking about future and feelings and values and choices. But I believe that by doing that, I hope that I bring more the language of love, which is so needed, and light. But to say that I'm doing it in the best way I can, I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure. I don't have like a reference point to that. I can't compare to any situation. I know that one thing I got even better at is being, very authentic. I talked about taking off the masks, and it's not a privilege at this point. It's how do you say it? It's like almost my obligation to be authentic.
Yeah. And you, you already were. So I think what you're saying is you've gone a whole nother level of authenticity.
I guess so.
And what's the impact of that on the folks that you are leading and guiding?
Again, depends who. Israelis. We're used to very direct, authentic kind of
communication
level of conversation, even before the war. That's the style. And you know what? It's true. I've always been like that before. I think that's part of my personal, personality trait. But now it's like, it's not that I don't give a fuck. I do give a fuck. It is important for me that it lands on the other side in a way that has a strong impact. I am not being authentic for the sake of shaking up anyone. I'm being authentic for the sake of allowing truth to happen. For that person, for me, in the space, it just brings more courage to the table. It's effortless now to be authentic and courageous. I know it sounds a little bit like, bragging, but it doesn't come from this place. No, it's just more natural now. It's just because I'm like that all the day, all those 4 months. It's like,
yeah. It doesn't sound, like you're bragging at all. I mean, it's what's needed. It's part of, I've been talking about what are the ingredients or the remedies, the medicine that's needed to help people lead through crisis, chaos, and change. And you're pointing to one. It's like courageous, fierce authenticity. Like masks off. Here's who I am. Let the truth come through you. Be the vessel for it. It's not performative. It's just like, okay.
And when you say that's the truth, I love this because it's absolutely, it's like when you're letting go of what people think about what you're saying or how you're being perceived, I truly believe that you're channeling so much more precise information, coaching questions, truth. The space is more sacred when you're allowing yourself to open up through courage and authenticity. And in times of crisis, which is something that I need people to understand, crisis here is an ongoing thing. You wake up every morning to crisis. And this is not going to end in the next months. It's going to take, I don't want to throw numbers and figures here, but it's at least a year from now, at least. So that means that the ability to stay resilient in crisis and courage and speaking your truth and keep your core is highly challenging. I had my meltdowns. I lost my voice.
Yeah.
I just, today that you and I had to postpone our recording because I lost my voice because there was a point where I was paralyzed. There was that much of resilience that I could handle. And even if I wanted to speak, there was no, I never had that kind of experience. Nothing came out. It was so weird.
Well, this is another thing I wanted to talk to you about because silence, there's so much power in silence. And if we talk again about a remedy for navigating these times, how did being in silence, like you were forced to be in silence, how has that served you maybe it's too soon because you're just coming out of it, but how did it serve you?
No. It's not too soon at all. I gained, talking about perspectives. Now that's a perspective, that I'm very talkative and I'm very, extrovert. And to be in silence, I'm not used to that. I know some people who are very happy that I didn't speak for 5 days. You can ask my kids. Silence is a humbling experience. When we teach the coactive skills, we never talk about silence as a formal skill, but it always comes into the conversation.
Always.
And that's silent and listen, same letters. But that listening part now with the silent, it's not only to other people, it's to me. And I was in a Vipassana. I was in a 5 days Vipassana during a war that I didn't choose the war and I didn't choose the Vipassana. But once I understood that they are connected, I submitted myself. I was, how do you say it? Immersing in
it. You went on the retreat. You said, all right,
went to a retreat.
I'm on a retreat.
Yeah. And I was, I was not talking. So what the humbling part is, first, what happens to a dynamic around you when you stop talking? Not for 2 minutes or 1 hour, for days. You're not going to a monastery and staying silent. You're in your life silent. Mm-hmm. And the impact is unimaginable. First of all, I experienced a tiny bit of the world of the introverted.
Mm-hmm. So you stood in introvert shoes. You stood in a different perspective.
Oh my God.
Yeah. What was that like?
Oh my God. They are bringing, some kind of, peace into the space, even if they don't want to. Some of them are struggling with with themselves being introverted, but they bring some kind of a peaceful silence. Mm-hmm. Another thing is that I've noticed that the dynamic is changing because I'm not taking an active part in it, but I'm there.
Yeah.
So I'm witnessing. Of course, I'm impacting by the fact that I'm there, my facial expressions, and sometimes writing a question and showing it to it. But it was just humbling to see humans talk and to witness them and have zero impact.
Mm-hmm. I suspect you did have an impact. It's just different from how you're used to having an impact.
The impact was that I think I was walking with a lot of grace in those days. Mm-hmm. And I think it was infectious.
Yeah. Yeah. And how...
In a good way.
In a good way. We talk about that a lot. Like, how can grace serve us to navigate these times?
Oof. Wow. Okay. So if I make that a question, mm-hmm. Grace doesn't belong to me. Grace comes from, spirit, world, God, universe, love, light. And when you're silent, you're silencing all the shadows as well. You're not silencing the shadows. You're allowing them to be. I'm lacking the words right now. Hold on.
Take your time.
Yeah. Means it's hard to talk when you don't have a voice. You're choosing every word. Mm-hmm. Because the voice is like gasoline in the car. Mm-hmm. It ends at some point and you've got to use it exactly so you get to your destination. So you need to understand what is your destination first. And for many, many years, I believe in the power of words. I even talk about it that the phrase abracadabra that everyone knows as creating magic, it actually, not a lot of people know that it comes from Aramaic, which is an ancient language that is the mother tongue of Hebrew and Arabic. Hebrew and Arabic are sister languages. That's the reason we understand each other language-wise. Culture-wise, it's a whole different thing. And we have a mother tongue, which is Aramaic, very, very ancient language. I'm talking about thousands of years old. And abracadabra in originality is evra kedabra. I will create evra the way I speak, kedabra. And that's where abracadabra came from. That's how you create magic.
Because our words, they create our reality.
Yes.
They create the magic. They create the disease. They're so powerful.
And I experienced that a lot when I hear words that are being thrown to me as Jew or Israeli. Words that has no thought behind, words that has, even thinking about it makes me cry. I think that war is not only here. War is being attacked by words, by hate. There is no safe space for us today. No safe space, except here.
In your own heart, in your own vessel.
And when your heart can't handle it, it goes to silence. It's like resetting. So I wasn't even able to create anything for 5 days. Nothing. I was like in the land of, I don't even want to say chaos. It was like in the beginning, something like that. What's going on?
But it went from the chaos to grace because the silence allowed you to connect to your heart, to spirit, and in a deeper way because there was no distractions with the voice and what the voice creates. Yeah. True. So could we just send the whole world on a Vipassana retreat?
My God, please.
Yes. How badly do we humans need silence? We've become so disconnected from silence. Yeah. We make so much noise, even just, in our day to day and with all the technology and the machines that beep and then our inner thoughts are so noisy. But when we do get silent, the inner thoughts slow down too. Is that your experience?
Absolutely. It's like you've been on my mind, in my mind, reading what happened to me. Yes, by the way, one of the things that I did, one of the reasons that my voice stopped working or went to silence, and I love the transition that you brought. For me, it's a reflection for what happened to me is from enormous sadness and pain to shutting down the voice to shifting into grace, which you need to maintain grace, by the way. It's not just like, I'm going to be graceful like a butterfly now in a war. I'm going to have this. I'm having this.
Yeah. The roller coaster, the ups and downs.
I can't even explain. But I think that what happened, I'm sorry, you see, I talked too much now and I lost your question. Can you repeat it, please? I'm sorry.
I don't think I remember it either. It's okay. It's gone.
It's something about the world and
the world going on Vipassana. Like I want to send the world. I want to go too. Can we all just go to a Vipassana retreat? Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Enough.
Shut the fuck up. And only, here's something that I'm trying not to be pissed off at this point because I'm going to keep the grace. Okay. As long as I can.
And people were all witnessing Yara. This isn't what all leaders have to do. How do I hold the grace when I feel my reactivity coming up? Okay, so tell us what's happening in your inner world right now. This is helpful.
Well, basically, the amount of times that I want to strangle people with my own hands when I hear what they say about the war and about my experience, and taking away my experience into their mouth when they live somewhere far away, when they have no idea about the history, when it's pissing me off in a way that I can't even explain. And with them, I have no hope. I'm sorry. I have no hope. The brainwashed people, crazy people, anti-Semitism. I can't be with that. What I chose to do is to silence all those, whatever. I'm not on TikTok, to be honest. I'm pretty old for that shit, but I'm not on TikTok. I wish I knew how to do that. Then I would have tens of millions of followers and whatever, and I would be a multimillionaire and the world would bow for me or whatever. That's bullshit. But you know, at least I had more influence on people. But it's like there's one thing that I've learned: if you don't know what you're talking about, shut the fuck up. If you want to make an opinion, fair enough. Learn, study, educate yourself. Go to places, physically to those places, learn. Then you can have your opinion. But don't sit with your coffee on your porch, looking at the sunset and seeing all the pictures on CNN or whatever, and say to yourself, "Oh, horrible, horrible people. They deserve to die." And then I see that. And then what kind of hope do you give me to be part of the human community? And what motivation do you bring to me to say something like, "Hey, I want to be part of this human family"? No, to be honest, at this point, not so much. So it's graceful on one hand, but it's very lonely. It's very lonely. Some people pretend to continue being part of the human community right now for the sake of survival. Me too. I'm working globally. My clients are global. I need to put the face of course I'm working with you. Of course you're fine. But inside I'm like, So I need to manage myself 10,000 times a day.
Yeah.
My anger, my despair, my frustration. And then take myself to the future and to the dreams and to the light. And it's constant work. It's constant work.
And I noticed you use your breath a lot just in this moment. So that's one of your tools, the breath, to reconnect you to grace? Well, what are some of the tangible ways you support yourself to reconnect to that part of yourself?
Silence, slowing down, doing a lot of sports.
So a lot of physical activity.
I'm swimming and I'm mountain biking and I'm nature and everything that I can
touch. And I was going to ask you, I saw you planting trees. Like I was going to ask if nature is one of the remedies to connect you to the grace and to the hope and to the possibility of the future.
Yes. And there are a lot of places that nature is not safe. Sorry. War. I can't go by myself. But if I go to the nature, I will not be by myself first. Second, I will volunteer. I volunteer many times, in agriculture. So I go to places where a lot of people flee the country who are not Israelis. They're like people who came from Thailand and the Philippines and places like that. And they've been working for years with Israeli agricultures, and they had to flee. And I completely understand them. I mean, you don't have to be here if you don't have to be here, right? So there was a lot of, work to be done. And if we don't help them, no food on our table as well. So it's truly a survival mode. Like, you help them volunteer, not getting paid. You get the food back. You also get the love back. You get a sense of you did something, that you helped someone in a very tangible way. It's not, coaching. I think a lot about coaching. Coaching is for the privileged. Coaching is for the privileged. Let's be honest about that. And I got to appreciate the hard work of people touching the ground, touching the grass, sweating, building, driving, muscles, not sleeping, waking up at 4 a.m. I got the whole new, talking about new perspectives. I got a whole new perspective around that. Yeah.
Well, and that's what you're talking about for folks to shut the fuck up and go and actually get in the shoes of these.
Get in the mud.
Get in the mud, go to these places physically and actually have your own experience of what's truly happening.
True.
And so I'm here in my privileged, one of the things I'm trying to do as a leader right now is be open to multiple perspectives and hold space for people who have a perspective to come and talk, like, because to me, it's all welcome. And when there's learning to speak to every human right now. But I'm really curious from your vantage point, like, how can I serve what's happening?
Wow. What a question. I think, I don't think that being a leader, rewind. Leadership is everyone gets to be a leader. That's not a cliche. Truly. In that I believe. And leadership means that you own your impact. So if you are witnessing an act of hate, an act of bullying, an act of shutting down someone, and you see it scaling up, and you're not speaking up, then you're not being a leader. What I'm doing right now, I feel like I'm almost risking myself right now, speaking my truth, but I'm risking myself, but I'm okay with that. Because if I will play according to the rules right now that the world wants me to play, then my very hurt voice will be forever silenced. And my pride will be silenced. So what can you do is to step in and to intervene. When you hear someone talking about something in a very, vigorous way and passionate way, and we should do this and we should do that. Oh, really? Based on what? Where did you learn this? Where? Okay. And then they say, no, I got this information from TikTok, my friends. Our job your job, I mean, I can't do this from here, but your job, I think, is to say, hey, if you want to speak up your opinion, great. I'm a true believer in that. We all should speak our opinion. Learn before you speak. That I learned actually from a spiritual teacher that I have. I don't say anything about anything that I don't understand about. I don't need to understand 100%, but 0%, 2%, 10% is not enough.
Yeah.
Because, going back to the abracadabra, the evra-kedabra, those words impacting people's lives, it's not a cliche. It's like actually our lives are in danger because of words right now.
So when this could be for anyone who's listening, when we see that type of behavior, when we see someone getting on a soapbox, it's asking, where did this information come from? Like really pointing to what's the source and shutting it down, shutting it down if it's not coming from a source. But then there's this dichotomy that we're in as humans of we're saying, have an opinion, do your research, and people are going to do research on social media. They're not necessarily going to get in an airplane and fly to the Middle East.
Right.
So can we ever really speak on this if we have not physically been there or have family members who are there? Like, what's
you want my real answer?
Yeah, I want your real answer.
No, you can't.
That's how I feel. I don't feel like I have,
You can't.
But then there's the opinion, but you have to speak up. But then it's like, but
I know it's like almost like a paradox.
It's a paradox, but it's like, but I don't have the right, like, I don't have the information. I don't know. Like this,
yeah,
it's all new to me. Right?
Let's take it to leadership in general. Okay, yeah. Let's take it to leadership in general. If I'm a leader and I say stuff that I have no idea about, and I'm impacting a whole organization or my team or whatever,
mm-hmm.
What kind of responsibility am I taking here? What kind of impact am I? How much am I aware to that? Where does it come from? Ego?
Mm-hmm.
The need to show that I know something?
Mm-hmm.
Am I really aware to
mm-hmm.
the power of my words, which create a whole chain of events, which behaviors and reactions and actions? So I say, shut the fuck up as long as you don't understand anything.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, if you can't take the plane, I know it's maybe going to piss some people off, but if you can't take the plane
mm-hmm.
and travel here and live in a war and learn about the history of the place from A to Z, don't tell me what to do. Don't. Because one, I'm not going to listen to you. Two, I'm not going to consult with you in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Three, I'm going to disrespect you. Mm-hmm. And trust is going to be thrown out of the window in a second.
Mm-hmm.
I have learned to not speak about things that I don't understand. You're in Costa Rica, right?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Costa Rica. All I know are actually good things, but I don't know about Costa Rica. I don't know who the government is. I don't know the history of the place. I don't know who are the people. And if I hear about a war happening in Costa Rica, God forbids, with whatever, another country who I don't know about as well, because it's also in Southern America, and I don't know about this place too much.
Yeah.
I will, first of all, I will be silent.
Yeah.
Then I will read. Then I will call people live there. Then maybe I will dare to say something. That's one. And I will only say something if my opinion counts. You understand?
How do you know if it counts? How do we know? Who's the judge of my opinion counting?
If my decision making has an immediate impact on people in Costa Rica,
mm-hmm.
I will do my homework. Mm-hmm. And then my opinion counts. If my opinion has nothing to do and can't impact people's lives in Costa Rica,
mm-hmm.
I will probably say, okay, you know what? I don't understand much about that. I will educate myself, but I'll probably stay silent until I feel from people from different perspectives that I understand what's going on. And that means, and that's the contradiction, because we live in a world of fast knowledge, fast food, ChatGPT, Bard.
Yeah.
Give it to me right now. Win the war, ceasefire. We don't like those pictures on the news, but hey, it's a war. War doesn't end because you just don't like it, because things working fast. It doesn't work like that. It's so it's something about slowing down.
Yeah. The whole thread, Yara, that I'm really getting from you is it is in the silence. It is in the slowing down. It could be slowing down to do one's homework and research, like you said, to talk to multiple sources who are on the ground. It could be getting silent with yourself and your own God and really getting clear on who am I in this moment? How do I best serve? Do I best serve by being silent because my opinion in your language, it doesn't count in this context. And and why should it? It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Yeah. And And this is really important, because I think part of the fast culture and getting your news in like 60 characters or saying your opinion in 120 characters has made a lot of humans believe that we are all journalists. We are all, we can.
I was a journalist. I was really a journalist.
I could see that. Yes.
So
oh my goodness.
That pisses me off twice because it's a hard work to find that. And even when you're a journalist, you come with an agenda. You can't. It's amazing. I remember that's the reason I left journalism. Yeah. It's not clean. And I completely align with what you say and what resonates for me when you speak about being silent. And just imagine how many crises would be prevented if people would slow down.
And shut the fuck up.
And shut the fuck up. Or not react as fast.
Yes.
And,
yes.
It's like crisis, you can talk about a small crisis. You can talk about a big crisis. I have 3 kids. 2 of them are teenagers. That's a potential for.
It's crisis all the time.
It's like an ongoing crisis.
Yeah.
Okay? Luckily, I'm blessed with really
beautiful children.
Amazing kids. Yeah. And one of them potentially is the crisis one. Okay. The crisis. And I have learned, thankfully, that to manage the crisis with that is to not respond immediately, to just, it's not about even listening. Okay. It's managing my, there's the point that you want to strangle them. You just silence. And to say the truth, in those 5 days that I was silent, they were actually coming more to me. Are you okay? What's happening?
Yes.
What's going on?
Yes.
It brought something.
Grace.
Yeah.
It brought grace. Grace is receptive energy. That's when grace comes in. And I suspect, the one in you that could use someone to come in and, how are you, Mom? Are you okay, Mom? Like, boy, like that, because you've been holding for so many, for your people, for your community, for your clients, for your children, your family. So grace.
Yeah.
This is, I want to keep going. Yara, thank you for your authenticity and your heart and your truth. And I really appreciate the guidance of like someone in my situation, because I think a lot of people who are listening are in my situation in this context. And so if the guidance is like, get to silence, do your homework and research, probably not speak up because it's not an opinion that counts. Like I'm following the steps.
Do speak up when your leadership is impacting those people.
Mm-hmm.
Only after you did your research, probably because you're impacting these people immediately. You probably live that life or you're connected to that. But I do want to say a disclaimer. I don't want people to not speak up. On the contrary, but if you speak up, speak from a place of knowledge and that your core is clear to you, that you can be with that for a long time, and be open and flexible to other perspectives, but to not, to not completely immediately accommodate to anything else, because that means that you didn't do your homework very well.
Find the unwavering place in yourself, which means doing the homework, sitting in silence, calling in the grace, and then speak, because you're speaking from a guided place versus
you're saying it so much better than me. Yeah.
We're saying it together. We're co-creating this.
We're co-creating.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes.
True.
Okay. So then there's just this other part. And I think this is part of my privilege too, is the part of me that's like I want to help, I want to help, and every person that's suffering, what do you, because sometimes doing nothing, it's not nothing. The guidance you're giving is, it is something, but there's a part of me that's like doing nothing is doing something. And what, Do you see where I'm going?
I am. You're asking, how can I help?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I wish I could tell you. I mean, I have tons of answers here, like, love us. Just choose to love us again. Just choose to see if you have a strong opinion about the situation, look deep inside your heart and check, where does it come from?
Mm-hmm.
Is it really yours? Is it really yours?
Yara, is this enough? Like, does this sound Pollyanna? I genuinely want every human to be safe and to be loved. And,
Me too.
I'm like,
Me too.
and I feel like this particular situation, I mean, there's been so many crises over the past 4 years that have polarized us as humans, pitted us against each other. And that's the piece I'm so fucking sick of. And does it sound Pollyanna to you, sitting in the war zone, for me to say, but I want everyone to be okay and safe. I don't want anyone to get fucking murdered or raped and harmed. Like, what? Tell me.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But of course, me too. Me too. We should, I mean, of course, my people, this country is a peace-seeking country since ever. If people would go into history, they would see we believe in life.
Yeah.
We believe in life. We love life. We are like, you should go to Tel Aviv. This is the manifestation of loving life.
Life force. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. So, and there is a lot of liveliness, livelihood. And so of course we want this. Of course you want this. It's okay to ask for it. It's okay to believe. Me too. Yeah. Me too. And
shut the fuck up. No.
is going through, humanity is going through crisis.
Yes.
A crisis of, who are we as humans?
Yes.
What's important to us? How fast do we point fingers? It's like a classroom.
Yes.
You have the students, you have the Israelis, you have the Palestinians, you have the Russians, you have the Americans, and then you can see the human dynamic, global human dynamic, like in a classroom. And you keep seeing that there is this stereotype happening again and again and again on one student. Eventually that student will burst and protect himself. Yeah. And then he will be seen as the
perpetrator.
So, yeah, exactly. So I know I'm maybe flattening history of thousands of years old by using this very flat analogy, but I'm trying to make a point that we all have responsibility for every part in the world. If something is happening to girls in Africa, and I'm not even aware of that, shame on me.
Yes.
And if I think that because I sit in a different place and I'm having my own whatever headache in the morning and I don't care about what's going on there, shame on me. That shows something about my humanity. But if I rush to say, well, they deserve it. They got, they deserve to be kidnapped, raped in Africa. Not only I didn't, got the whole picture, I actually shaped their destiny. People don't understand the power of the words. It's an energy that coming all the way to here. I decided to silence all my reels, stories, Instagram, TikTok, things that are showing up on my feed, on Facebook, whatever. Oh my God, on LinkedIn, I was like, okay, I don't know what to write there anymore. I don't know what to say. I don't know so I'm just showing up as myself.
Yeah. And thank God you are. Yeah.
Thank God for allowing, for you giving me this opportunity to speak after a long silence.
let's bring this to a close. And you've shared so many of your prayers and wish and dreams for humanity.
You're reading my mind. I have a goosebump. I wanted to say that there is a prayer.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say it in Hebrew and then I'll translate it. Okay?
Please.
It was the first prayer I said on October 7th. I said, Ose Shalom Bimromav, meaning making peace in heaven. Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. He will bring peace to all of us. Ve'al kol Israel, and on Israel, but not only as a country, as a nation, as light. It represents many things, not just a country. Ve'imru Amen. Say Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for your wisdom, your love, your light. I see you beaming it so big and strong. I do, and I know many do. And thank you for coming and being so authentically Yara, like you'd be any other way. But there's so much wisdom in this conversation that people can apply in these times and in any context.
I wish they will.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for that. Thank you for inviting me, Christy.